actually ran into Ricky Hatton once when I was in a nightclub steaming, and I was in a club called The Circle in Manchester, and he was coming out just as he was coming in just as I was coming out.
No, 100%, mate. It's like that time when he gave Andy Ruiz his belts to hold, and it was just like, what are you doing, mate? He's not some Make-A-Wish kid. Like, he's coming on Saturday to smash your head in for money. Like, that's what this game is. So what are you doing?
Hello and welcome to another Round Podcast. With another episode with myself, Mike Thomas, and my co-host Hamza Hanif. We're going to be going over with Spence and Ugas, and also we're going to cover a bit of the top big heavyweights as well at the end of the show. Massive fights this weekend, mate. Hugely excited about Errol Spence Jr., Errol the Truth Spence versus the Cuban, the runaway Cuban Ugas. How do you see that one?
So, I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. I think Ugas is a really, really good counter puncher, and he switches from defense to offense very, very, very well. So not only can he be a counter puncher, but he can also be on the front foot, pressuring and walking people down as well. So I think it's going to be a very tough sort of back and forth fight. What I like about Spence, though, is he seems to just maintain that speed. Like, he's an absolute machine in that sense, where he just seems to just warms up, and then there's a point around 7 or 8 or 9 where he just completely takes over, and then the fight starts to become one-sided. And I don't know if that's because of his power eventually starts to wear his opponents down, or his timing, or like whatever it is that he does. It's very, very special. You know what I mean?
I was listening to an interview where somebody was saying that when they fought Spence, that he doesn't have the massive one punch power like Deontay Wilder, but what he does have is he has flurries of kind of 80% power where it's consistent, where he's just pushing you back, constantly throwing massive powerful shots, and that is the stuff that just wears people down. So like you just said, you made a very good point, and he does break people down in like 7, 8, 9 round. He is just by that point he's usually got the better of them. 9 times out of 10 he's usually got the better of them. Interesting though, in this fight he said he thinks it could be a very early knockout in his opinion, and if a boxer comes out and says that, usually I tend to kind of think, oh, well, maybe obviously he sees something that we maybe don't, and he thinks he can knock this guy out in the first 3 rounds. He probably can. Do you know what I mean? If he's gone out and said that to the media, or he might just be saying it to sell tickets, whatever, we don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting fight. Obviously, Ugas has got that Cuban style, very quick in and out, quick feet. Spence likes to go on the outside, and he's got a very strong jab, obviously. But I can't see Ugas winning this fight. I know he's very confident going into this. I think this is almost a perfect matchup for Spence. The whole situation with Manny Pacquiao, which we obviously wanted to see, but that fell down. I think it's going to be a great fight. I see Spence winning in 7 rounds. I would say probably 7 to 9 rounds. I think he'll get a TKO. He'll probably knock him down earlier than that, maybe within the 3rd, 4th round. And then I like to see him finish him off sort of 7 to 9 rounds. What do you reckon?
I actually do think that Spence can get a stoppage in this fight if he fights to his ability. And I think he will. I think he will get a stoppage, and I'm going to go for round 9. I think he gets it done within 9 rounds. I don't know if there's going to be an early knockdown or not, because he is a very, very well-schooled boxer, Ugas. So I can't see him making a mistake per se where Spence can catch him. Maybe Spence can force him to make that mistake though, which would be interesting to see. But I see it more as Spence starts to grow into the fight, Ugas starts to shrink. That's the way I look at it. And I think by round 7 to 8, it starts to become more and more one-sided. And then eventually, I do think that he gets the job done.
Ugas wins if Spence is not what he was since the car crash. So if he's not quite there since the car crash, because we didn't quite see that against Danny Garcia. There's too many Garcias in the game, but
There's so many Garcias.
so many.
Those Mexicans love a fight.
Love it. They love it. So yeah, we didn't quite see enough of him against Danny Garcia. He won convincingly, but I'd like to see more of him in this fight. I'm excited for it. And the only way I can see him not winning is if we can say, you know, he's obviously not quite himself from the accident. But I've watched him train. I watched the live workout. He looked in prime condition, mate. He looked fantastic. He looked quick. He looked the old Spence. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good fight, mate.
Yeah. My final sort of takeaway would just be watching all the sort of stuff that Showtime have been putting out. And I think the car crash may well have actually been good for him. And I know it sounds crazy because who wants to flip a Lambo in the early hours? He said it himself in that Showtime doc where he was saying, I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and he was probably living that sort of that lifestyle a little bit more, that sort of club, that white Ferrari lifestyle. And he was like kind of living this I'm a superstar sort of lifestyle. And I think this probably has brought him back down with a crash, back down to earth a little bit. And it's probably dialed him in a little bit. And I don't think he has had any physical sort of setbacks. Obviously, he was badly injured at the time, but I don't think there's been any lasting physical impact. So I think that mentality shift he might actually be able to fuel that now to become a pound for pound, because he does have that ability.
He moved from, obviously it's very kind of like different. You see him like clubbing, drinking out and allegedly drinking. And then afterwards he says, oh, I've reset my life. Those were the words he said, I've reset my life. Your first scene is him like on a farm with some sheep. He's like on a farm feeding animals, like
going back to nature. You know what I mean?
Going back to nature, like reset himself. He's kind of put the groundwork in, and hopefully he's going to might even come back even better version than what he was pre-car crash. So, actually, news coming out today. I don't know if you've seen this, but Dillian Whyte tweeted finally after we sort of dissed him about his lawyer, his dodgy American lawyer. You
think it was us? You think that we did it? Think we got it over
not, but he has been managed so badly with this fight. Like, this is the biggest fight of your life. If you're Dillian Whyte, this is the biggest fight of your life coming up. You have to promote the hell. I'd be turning up to tea parties. I'd be going to everything. I'll be I'll be waving at the crowds. I'll be doing everything because it's the biggest fight of my career. So for him to be advised or allegedly advised, do not show up to the press conference. Do not turn up to anything. What are you doing? Like, just stay in Portugal and train. Madness, mate. Madness.
Yeah. I think, do you know what it is, though? I think a part of that is him taking advice. I think that there is definitely somebody, whether it's Eddie Hearn or whether it's his lawyer, giving him some advice, saying, listen, make it difficult, make it annoying, you know what I mean, for these people, because we just don't like to work with them. I don't know if it's a bit of that, but I do also think there's a part of Dillian Whyte's personality in there as well. Like, he always seems to be that sort of that troublemaker, almost. Like, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think he just marches to the beat of his own drum, like, a little bit as well. I think there's a side of that in there as well, where, you know, if you remember, like, when he was giving Joshua all that shit at the press conference before, who did he fought? The Scotsman, I can't remember his name now, Gary Cornish, when he fought Gary Cornish, and like Joshua and Dillian Whyte was just giving him loads and loads of shit, and I like that is Dillian Whyte's person. I think he's one of those people where he gets something in his head where he's like, I'm not going to play ball.
Yeah,
and I think he's just ran with it, but it is good to see him get involved, you know.
Yeah, and also he's good value, he's good entertainment. I mean, I know it's I love used to see Dillian Whyte and obviously Chisora like throwing tables. They used to be good value, like, do you know what I mean? All the press conferences, he always used to, like, him and Joshua was hilarious. Them two going at each other, that was entertaining. Yeah, I wanted to see him at the press conference, so hopefully he'll show up to some stuff, because I think he's in England now. Because I've seen on his Instagram, it looks like he's landed in England. 2 weeks away or 10 days away now from this fight. And I'm excited because he went on Twitter and finally did some kind of mediocre promotion. At least he at least kind of acknowledged that he's in the biggest fight of his life and put something up on Twitter. So that's good news, because that kind of like declines the chances that it's going to be a no-show, because they were talking about getting somebody else to fight Tyson Fury, last minute stand-in kind of thing. But like the other guy was saying, you've got to be worried about Tyson Fury too, but I don't think so. Too much money on the table, massive fight. It's going to be a huge, huge, huge fight. And I really hope, sorry, mate, I really hope that it's like a big, big matchup. And I don't want it to be one-sided. I want it to be like 50-50 for as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we're going to get as well. I think that's exactly what we're going to get. I think we're probably going to get one of the most dangerous versions of Dillian Whyte, but we're also going to get a really dangerous version of Tyson Fury, who I've never seen him more sort of confident and actually believe the confidence as well. I think there's an element of showmanship from Tyson Fury, but like, he actually really believes that he's gonna get rid of Dillian Whyte, and he's gonna do it comfortably. So it's like, I think we're gonna get a Dillian Whyte who's just gonna come in nasty, aggressive, and I do think it's gonna be an amazing sort of fight. I actually was watching the Teddy Atlas breakdown about it as well, and he made some really good points about Dillian Whyte and how dangerous he can be, because he's big, he's game, he's a little bit awkward because he's not a massive amateur sort of textbook boxer. He can kind of hit you from weird angles, and I think with Tyson Fury, there's a distinct difference though, because with Tyson Fury, we know he can take those big shots and get back up. We don't know the same thing about Dillian Whyte, really. You know what I mean? There's been 2 times where he has been stopped. I think it's
saw the vicious uppercut from Povetkin, where he was just absolutely down and out from that. That was out of nowhere. I remember that was shocking. The whole like arena just shut down. Everyone just went quiet.
The way he went down as well, the way he got knocked out was so dramatic as well.
I remember when we were all watching in America, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury build up, and Fury was just so confident, going, "Yeah, I'm going to knock him out." And everyone was kind of like, "No, you're not. These are all mind games. Like, you're just going to box like you did in the first fight, and you're just going to keep your distance and win on points." But he was like, "No, I'm going to go for the kill. I'm going to go." What's your game plan, Fury? Oh, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to try and knock him out. And everyone was like, that's not going to happen. But now you've actually got to take him seriously. When he says stuff, you don't know, is he like playing mind games or is he being genuine? Like, and you made a really good point as well about Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's a lot heavier. He's 6'4". He's not as tall as Wilder, but he's a lot heavier. He's not someone you can lean on in the clinches. Like Fury was leaning all over Wilder. Wilder's got like a basketball physique. He's very light for his height, and he was all over him. And that played a part in tiring Wilder out. But he's not going to be able to do that to Dillian Whyte as much, because he's a huge guy, so heavier guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I think the problem though is that Dillian Whyte is that Tyson Fury has more ways to win. Like, I feel like Tyson Fury could come in and be that powerhouse and move forward. And obviously Dillian Whyte probably wants that. He wants that kind of fight where it's a dog fight. But also Tyson Fury can win that fight. Not only that, he can win on the back foot, moving around, staying mobile. So it's like the guy who has more ways to win. But I feel like Dillian Whyte has to bum rush him, push him to the ropes, and hurt him and get that respect. And I don't, if it goes 12 rounds, I don't think anybody favors Dillian Whyte. You know what I mean? So it's one of those where I think Tyson Fury has more ways to win, and that's going to be a challenge.
Definitely. He could just be like, yeah, I'm going to go and batter Dillian Whyte in the first round. I'm going to come out and I'm going to get in his face. I'm going to smash him up, and then turn up on the night and just like box and move the entire time, and just outbox him and
just do what he did to Vladimir. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. do what he did to Vladimir. He frustrated Vladimir. He just frustrated the hell out of Klitschko. He'd already frustrated him in the press conference when he turned up as Banana Man or whatever it was. When he when he turned up just like Klitschko's a guy that likes to be in control. So when he doesn't know what's going on, he's like, what is going on? That's what his mind games, even back then. He knows how to play the game. So you don't know what you're going to get. He's just so unpredictable. He could just do anything and he could still win.
Have you ever heard the Tyson Fury Vladimir Klitschko Sauna story?
Yes, I have. Yeah, mate. Go on, but tell it anyway.
That shows you though how mad Fury is. Like that at that moment when he was just I think he was like a very young professional at the time, and I think he was over there training, and Vladimir was like still like a reigning champion at the time, and it shows you how mad he was. He was just like Vladimir Klitschko didn't even realize he was in a competition, but in his mind, he was trying to break Klitschko down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he was there for a training camp or something. But yeah, he Klitschko was involved in a very serious sauna game that he had no idea he was in.
Which I love. I love that.
I love that story. Yeah, it was great. It was great, and he tells it a lot. He's very proud of that story. But it's funny as hell.
And I can genuinely believe that Klitschko had no idea. And Tyson was just there, like ready to die.
He's Irish. He's like blood. His pale skin's going bright red. He's like bricking it, just fighting it out to the very end. But yeah, no, that is going to be mega. It's the biggest fight in Britain and probably one of the biggest fights in the world. And if not, like, it's going to be probably the fight of the year if it goes as good as I think it will. So that, and it's only a few days away, mate. 10 days away. I can't even believe it.
I can't believe it. It's such a massive event for British boxing as well, and it just shows you how Britain is just killing heavyweight boxing at the moment. Killing it.
Yeah, I think my three at the moment is heavyweights, welterweights, and lightweights, because they're just stacked. So much talent. There's so many good fighters in the welterweight division. It's absolutely stacked. There's so many good fighters in the lightweight division, and then obviously super middleweight. You don't even know what Canelo is. He's just sort of all over the place.
He's the can man.
He's just like lightweight, light heavyweight. Yeah, everywhere. But that'll be a good fight against Bivol as well. I'm excited about that. But we'll talk about that another time. But the other thing you wanted to just touch on was the Usyk Anthony Joshua. What do you think of Usyk's new haircut, by the way?
I love it. I love it.
Amazing. I love it. I think he's a mad guy, and he's hilarious. But he knows he's a bit nuts, and I think that's what makes him a good fighter. He's just a bit crazy. He trains like a madman. He's just got so much armory and so many shots in his game. Like, he's so technical. That is going to be a mega fight. I think he's styled his hair like a Ukrainian warlord or something.
No, I think his haircut has some significance to his homeland as well, which is epic, like some sort of warrior thing. And do you know what it is? Like, I love Usyk. I wish he could speak a bit more English so to get like more of his personality, because he's clearly got one. He's clearly got like an amazing personality in there, and like, he's so unconventional. Like, I seen a training session of his once, and he was like dancing to warm up and stuff. Like loads of like mad sort of dance move, like, but actually full on dancing. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like a little bit. He was, and he's a good dancer as well, to be fair. But yeah, no, I think they've proposed the 23rd of July for that fight, and I don't know how true that is, but it's looking like it's likely going to be a summer fight. Usyk's in training. Joshua sort of I think Joshua hasn't stopped training, really, to be fair, by the looks of it.
He looks ready. He looks ready. Joshua is training very hard. I've been watching his training videos. The thing with Usyk though is, unfortunately, normally you'd say we don't even know if 23rd of July is going to be the official date of the fight, but it's even more unsure now because there's a massive war going on, which we can't really talk about. But the odds are going to be stacked even more against Anthony Joshua, because not only is he fighting a guy that he lost very convincingly to who looked much better than him. And number two, he's got to go out and change his complete game tactics, because obviously trying to outbox Usyk was never going to work. So he's got to come in and have a completely different style. And number three, the whole of the crowd, probably a lot of non-partisan fans, and there are probably a lot of Ukrainians there, will see this as like more than just a fight. They'll see it as like, this is Ukraine, fighting back against the world. And that's kind of like, that's going to be very hard for Joshua as well, because, and presumably it's not even in the UK, it's not even in Wembley Stadium. It's going to be allegedly in Saudi Arabia, probably because of Eddie Hearn and loves a pound note, but loves some money, does Eddie Hearn. I can see it's going to be tricky for Joshua. He does look good though. He does look good, and against anyone else, I'd really fancy him. I think he'd be very strong against anyone else, but you can't, just can't. I don't know. I can't see him winning.
No, mate, you know what it is? I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like, I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. Joshua looks so dialed in and looks so focused. But it's like he's fighting Usyk, and he's fighting him at a time of just legacy, where it's like, it's Usyk's, he's come out of a war-torn country which he's been actively defending. Ukraine is just in the news all the time. It's just crazy what's happening over there. And I feel like, despite people liking Joshua and despite him being a pay-per-view star, like if Usyk walks out to the Ukrainian national anthem, I think more people are going to be thinking, I want this guy to win, than they are Joshua.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that as well, I think he's at a skills disadvantage as well. I think, obviously, Usyk is one of the best cruiserweights to ever exist. So it's going to be a tough night for him. And another thing as well, and I think AJ might have dropped the ball on this a little bit. Like, I feel like he should have had another fight. I feel like he should have had, when Usyk couldn't necessarily agree to the rematch, I think he should have got a quick one in, because he's now going into this Usyk fight with a new trainer, under all that pressure again, all of the lights, all of the marbles, and I just think, why do it, man? Like, you've been like,
and he had the perfect excuse. You say, hey, hang on a minute, we can't fight. Obviously, there's a massive war going on, guys. So I'm just going to get 3 or 4 fights in while you're sorting that out. And then after the war's over, hopefully, we don't know, but hopefully it'll end at some point. Then he could have been like, the war's over, let's do our rematch. And at which point, there won't be as much pressure on him, because now he's just fighting against Ukraine. He's fighting against Usyk, but it's not all that added pressure of, oh, this is Ukraine showing, we're fighting for our rights. This is much more a significant fight now. So he's really dropped the ball in a lot of ways. He's handled it really badly. I didn't even think he should have fought Usyk in the first place, and I actively said that to a lot of people at the time, that he should.
It's a bad stylistic matchup for him all day, even at his best. Yeah.
So, and even if he wins as well, if he goes in there and he gets some dirty licks off into Usyk, and Usyk starts bleeding early on, it's gonna take away because he's beating the Ukrainian guy. It's gonna be like, do you know what I mean? It's gonna take the shine off it a bit. It might not be for him, but for the world and everything else, and the political world and everything.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And I think even just from a ring rust perspective as well, like even just from a totally technical perspective, it would have been nice for him, for his confidence, to get a win. Like, he should have fought somebody like Joe Joyce. When they mentioned Joe Joyce, I thought that's a cracking fight. And I feel like Joshua, contrary to what a lot of people think, I think Joshua handles Joe Joyce quite easily because of his style. He's like almost tailor-made for him. The way he comes forward, he's very hittable. And I think somebody like Joshua would get rid of him. So I think it's one of them things where you
can't call that fight, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I do know what you mean, but I think styles make fights, and I heavily favor Joshua in that fight. But I just think waiting almost 12 months between each fight, you have to be active. You have to be an active champion.
Yeah, Exactly. You want to be taking Canelo's kind of mentality where you want to be fighting as much as you can and fighting the best guys. You couldn't be more confident than Canelo right now. He's literally saying, I'll fight anyone. I'll go up to a different weight division and I'll fight in the light heavyweights. And he's like 5'6".
And a big part of that as well is momentum. Like he's building that momentum with these wins. He's fighting every 3 months. He's getting a big knockout here, then he's moving up and he's back in again. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of that's just he's rolling the momentum on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's as Tyson always says, it's really important to stay active. You stay active and you fight, you're going to get better. And you fight harder opposition, you'll get better. The same thing we were saying with Canelo, how much Canelo improved when he fought Mayweather and he lost to Mayweather, how much he learned from that fight. And keep going and keep fighting. If you're doing one fight a year like Joshua's doing, I feel like he's just not. He's made too much money, in my opinion, now. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was making way too much money, and he's got.
That's one thing you can't have enough of, Mike.
Yeah, but you've got to put your silk pajamas on and go run at 5 a.m. now, like. Don't want to do it, mate. You don't want to do it because you just made so much money. He's too successful. And Joshua could do so many different things now because he's a bit of a like hero, and he could go and do like TV shows. He could do acting. He already does modeling and all that stuff. So there's loads of things for him. It's not like you've got other fighters like Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's not really a big enough name. He's just got boxing. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's the thing with Joshua is his head's not been in the game for a few years.
The problem is, man, is it's almost like manufacturing gone wrong, where they've like tried to build him into this like sportsman and they've took him out of being a fighter. And like I think that's why Dillian Whyte has so many fans, because he's not a boxer, he's a fighter. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like because they've sanitized Joshua down so much. Yeah, over the years,
commercialized him. They've commercialized him.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Yeah, and they've kind of took the venom out of his teeth a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a perfect description. He's just kind of like he's not the road man anymore. He's just the man. He's not a road man. You know what I mean? He's just the man. Everyone knows who he is. He's got Hugo Boss. He's got Nike. He's got Under Armour. All these sponsorship deals coming out of his ears. You know what I mean? He's got so much money, man, and I don't think the hunger is there anymore. And like you said, they've sanitized him, they've commercialized him down. Whereas Dillian Whyte is just raw, is himself, will always just speak his mind and say what he thinks. Joshua thinks before he speaks every time, and his answers are so manufactured, and he's always worried about what I should say, like even down to his ring walk music. Just play what ring walk music you want to play. Don't play Seven White Stripes or whatever they're called, or some kind of indie alternative rock because you think that's what the crowd likes. Just play like Skepta and like Stormzy.
Man. Come
out to Stormzy again. Come out to Stormzy and go for it, mate. Come out to Stormzy like a Grim Reaper with a fucking massive black cape on and come out there and fucking knacker him. That's what you want to do. Yeah. And instead, he's doing all this kind of, oh, what do you think? Asking people in the ring, how should I fight this guy? And like signing autographs and smiling and like waving and shaking hands with people as he's walking into the ring. You want to have the mentality like you're going to kill somebody, not that you're just walking in the ring, just waving at everyone like, oh, do you want to fit? Just taking pictures with his granny and stuff before he gets into the ring.
No, 100%, mate. It's like that time when he gave Andy Ruiz his belts to hold, and it was just like, what are you doing, mate? He's not some Make-A-Wish kid. Like he's coming to smash on Saturday, you know what I mean? Like he's coming on Saturday to smash your head in for money. Like that's what this game is. So what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like you're waving like I think there was a part of it.
Andy Ruiz like a Make-A-Wish kid. That's the best line ever. That's so funny.
You can't have that mentality, man. You can't. You have to be a killer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Andy Ruiz came out to kill and to take the money and all the glory and the belts. And then massively pied afterwards and couldn't handle it.
I was just going to finish by saying, I think that's a part of Joshua that's now missing. You know, just to circle it back to that, I think that's people can't really relate to him. They're kind of looking at him like from a distance, being like, "Oh, he's this like sportsman. He's this," you know.
He seems untouchable, unreachable, whereas Ricky Hatton is very, very down to earth. I actually ran into Ricky Hatton once when I was in a nightclub steaming, and I was in a club called The Circle in Manchester, and he was coming out just as I was coming out. And I just shook his hand and I told him he's a legend, had a little chat with him. And he's just the same as he is on TV. Like, he's so humble. He gave me a lot of time. I've got massive bags of respect for him. Like, why should I talk to you kind of thing. He was very respectful. And so I always have massive respect for Ricky Hatton because I just think he's a top man. Top man. And like you're saying,
a legendary fighter as well.
Legendary fighter. The way he just stormed Las Vegas with all these Manny fans that just came over from Manchester, that was amazing. And it was a huge atmosphere. I think, Joshua's got a bit of an untouchable air about him. And I don't know if that's his fault or if that's just his management team and everyone on his entourage and everyone around him.
That being said, he is a Brit. I would love to see him go in there, produce a knockout, and then, you know, really, really take back the throne. But I can't see it happening. And like you said as well, like what you touched on, I think the whole world is probably behind Usyk at this point, apart from Russia.
Yeah. They're probably supporting Joshua. Apart from Russia and us supporting Joshua, mate, the whole world is on their eyes are on Usyk. That's a dangerous thing for Joshua to be stepping into. And he's mad going and having it in Saudi Arabia as well. I just think it's like, it doesn't, none of the things or parts of the equation add up to be a good thing for Joshua. It's all kind of not ideal. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see.
Definitely.
All right, mate. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you today. It's been great to have you on again. And that's another episode of Another Round. I'll see you all again soon.
Take care.